Did someone say fantasy? Get ready for another episode of Fantasy Football RPG with Mike and Evan. Let's get into the action.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time of day it is. This is another episode of Fantasy Football RPG. This is episode 101. If you want to hear the most despicable mock draft of your entire life, go back and listen to episode 100. But tonight we're going to break down the Big 10, and we are joined by one of the smartest college minds that I have the pleasure of knowing. Chris, please introduce Evan. No, but Chris, we're excited to have you.
We got Evan on the show tonight. It's a big one.
We are over the moon to have you. We're stoked to have you. Tell the people where they can find you, what you're working on, and some of your background, because you're super good at this, and I'm excited to learn a lot tonight.
I appreciate you, man. Once that college guest gets here, I cannot wait to talk to them too, Mike. But you can find me at FFChrisB on Twitter every Monday nights on the One Foot Down Show, which is a college fantasy football podcast on the Fantasy and Frames channel. And then we got one more run of Mocking with the Stars before the season starts with Club Fantasy with my guy Gator J, man. One more to go.
You got a lot going on.
One more.
You're crushing it.
Enough, Mike. Yeah, I appreciate you. You guys are crushing it as well, Mike and Evan.
Dude, so many things to juggle. One of those things is introducing Evan. Evan, you are amazing, beautiful. I love you. You never say it back. That's fine. But you want to talk about some Trophy Smack stuff real quick before we get into the action?
You know, I think you just never let me say it back, Mike. So I love you, man. You know, this is the best podcast that I could ask for to be on. But Trophy Smack, you know, maybe at the end of the year, we'll have enough money in our account to be able to go get a Trophy Smack for best podcast that gets barely any listens. So, you know, we'll just be a little self-deprecating here and absolutely recommend Trophy Smack. It's time for home dynasty leagues, home redraft leagues, you know, work leagues, all of that. If you want to show your coworkers who is the best fantasy footballer in the office, you gotta go to Trophy Smack. And what code do they use, Mike?
FFRPG.
FFRPG, baby.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, news and notes this week. We don't have a lot written down. There's been some preseason action. Big thing, J.J. McCarthy, we touched on it last week. He's going to be out for the season. So if you have Sam Darnold, would you sell him for a second, Evan?
Yes. Heartbeat.
Would you sell him for an early third?
No.
So that's
he's worth a second. He's starting the entire season.
Okay. Lovely, lovely. Is there any other news and notes you guys want to hit before we jump into the Big 10?
Yeah,
Gardner
Mattson
Minshew
was named starter. Yeah, Gardner Minshew named starter, Mattson named starter at Boise State, or are we just talking NFL stuff?
You listen, whatever you want to talk about, we have an hour blocked off, and I'm just here to hang out with you. Whatever happens.
Yeah, the Minshew stuff is great. I like him going there. I wasn't sure what was going to happen because AOC wasn't. I mean, he was bad. I guess you could say he was bad last year.
He was a top.
He wasn't bad, but
he was a top 30 quarterback.
Top 35 quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. Take that.
But yeah, I mean, for Devontae Adams, I like it, right? Yeah. I'd rather have Gardner Minshew than Aiden O'Connell, I guess.
He just supported Michael Pittman to a top 18 season. So if he can do that with Michael Pittman, imagine what he can do with Devontae Adams. And then what's the Boise State news?
Oh, sorry. AOC supported Devontae Adams for a top 18 season too, right?
And if Minshew's an upgrade.
I think he was 18.
Yeah, on the dot.
We were all expecting the transfer from USC, Malachi Nelson, former 5-star, to be the starter at Boise once he left USC. We're like, okay, I guess he's going to get playing time because there was the Miller Moss stuff there. Mm-hmm. And yesterday they announced that Maddox Madsen's going to be the starter and not Malachi Nelson. So for college fantasy players, C2C players, Devy players that invested in Malachi Nelson, he's kind of a burnt asset now, man.
It's just completely over. Talking about the starter at Boise State, is he now, like, we expected him to get benched? Is this somebody that you want to go invest in, or is this just a flash in the pan?
No, not C2C, Devy, maybe CFF, like college fantasy wise, late flyer. I'll throw a dart, sure, but it's Ashton Jeanty or nobody else from that offense.
God, love Ashton Jeanty, but all right, let's dive into it.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes.
All right, so we got our Big Ten preview. We're going to go through all of this is ordered by the ESPN Power Index. So listen, don't get mad at me when we say these teams in the order we say them in. We're going to start at the top, which I didn't expect before I even made these show sheets. The Oregon Ducks. Quarterback Dylan Gabriel. Listen, I'm not over the moon about him. I don't think that he has that many elite traits, but I also didn't think Bo Nix had that many elite traits and he went in the first round. So, Evan, give us a little scouting report on Gabriel, like what we should be looking for him like to step forward to be considered in the 2025 draft.
Yeah, so I very much see him as a late day 3 type of quarterback for the NFL. What I have written on him, Gabriel is a plus athlete and a dual threat quarterback. He can throw from the pocket and can also throw off script. He has good accuracy in the short and intermediate game, which fits the West Coast and RPO systems very well, but he lacks the arm strength to be able to push the ball downfield. When there's any kind of severe winds, he's severely impacted by that. And he needs to improve his anticipation against all kinds of coverages to be able to be considered a actual potential NFL player. Right now, I think he projects as a backup, maybe a third string type quarterback. I don't see him really doing too much in the league.
Okay, well, that's heartbreaking. Chris, do you feel differently, or do you want to talk about these wide receivers that are a little more exciting?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same for NFL potential. The only thing he's got going for him is how wide open the kind of QB landscape is going into next year. I can definitely see a situation where he has a great year at Oregon, like Bo Nix did last season, and there is a team that is looking to make a change at the position, and they take a shot on Dylan Gabriel. But I'm in the same boat as Evan there, man. We're in the same boat, reading the same book on the same page with Dylan Gabriel. So I'm good with moving to the wideouts.
Sounds good. It sounds like if Dylan Gabriel gets drafted, it's going to be to the Steelers, and it's going to be a mistake, and I can't wait. Let's talk a little bit about Evan Stewart. So Evan, you have him written down as a late second round pick. Chris, how do you feel about Evan Stewart? What are some of the traits that you're excited about, and how do you value him in your Devy and your C2C leagues?
I got him for Devy in his class. I got him as the wide receiver 2, just behind Luther Burden, but it's a mix. It gets tight. Luther Burden, Ted McMillan, and Evan Stewart for me. I was really hoping that he got out of Texas A&M just because of everything that happened there. The year before this past season, with the controversy, we saw Chris Marshall get shipped out of there. There was just a lot of stuff going on. And for the player with his abilities, I was really hoping that he ended up in a place like Oregon. Once I heard that he entered the transfer portal, I was crossing my fingers for the Ducks. Some people have Tez poised to be the wide receiver 1, Tez Johnson, for the Ducks this season, which is understandable given that he has been in the system for quite some time. But Evan Stewart's he's just one of those wide receivers, one of those elite wide receivers that's going to be able to make every play across the field. So for me, I got no problem going up to reach and get a player like Evan Stewart in any of my Devy or C2C drafts, man. Okay.
So do you feel a little bit differently with the late second projection? Do you think like a first round pick is in this like range of outcomes for him?
If he has a great year, yeah, I can see it definitely, because what he shows on tape, he's going to be an athlete. When he goes to the combine, he's going to show out all those things that when NFL teams and dynasty managers really start to fall in love with these guys, that's going to raise his draft stock. Early second, I could definitely see he can creep into the late first if he has a just standout year with the Ducks. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Evan, I know you want to just hammer down on this, but last time we went way over time because we just want to talk about everybody. Jordan James, give me the bull case, the running back, for why he could be somebody we need to watch. Otherwise, sell me on Tez Johnson.
Yeah, I can speed run both of them here. So Jordan James, early day 3 type of pick. He runs behind his pads. Really appreciate that. He's got a sturdy build. He falls forward on his rushing attempts. Really love all those things. That's what you want out of a running back. You look at a guy that can go between the tackles. He's a quick processor, or appears to be a quick processor on zone runs. You want to see him take a full workload. He's never been required to have a full workload because of the Oregon scheme, just how they operate in that offense. You'll probably see a little bit lack of carries for a bell cow type. And then he doesn't have the true home run hitting speed So that is a little bit of a question mark. I have him projected as a long-term backup in the NFL that has the ability to have spot starts. So that's how I see him, looking at maybe that like 5th round type running back that fills out that RB2 on a team. And then Tez Johnson. Oh my gosh, is he skinny? I mean, he looks like a strong gust just comes and is just going to blow him over, bro. Like, I love what he can do in the short game. You know, I love how he gets open. He's a good route runner. He's able to do all of that. And also, let's remember, he's a good punt returner. He's a very good punt returner, which will be able to keep him on 53-man rosters. And I think at the very worst, he's going to profile as a wide receiver 3 at the NFL level, with potential to be a wide receiver 2 at the NFL level if he can prove to stay healthy at that size.
Look, you said tiny, great in the short and intermediate. He's Tank Dell, will accept no feedback. That's what people are going to comp him to. I don't think he has the same separation ability, but that's what's going to happen, and I just want to get out in front of it. He is not the same player. Please don't comp him that way. Tutu Atwell is closer, actually. I actually like that comp. Terrence Ferguson, I'm just going to speed run him real quick. He was 4-star recruit, all Pac-12 in his senior year, but he's going into, I think it's going to be his 5th year this season. So for somebody that we're looking for in a Devy or in a dynasty draft next year, he's probably not the like analytics guy's favorite. He's also probably a better blocker than he is a receiver right now, which is fine. So unless either of you feels very strongly about Ferguson, we'll move to Ohio State. Let's do it.
Sticky hands. I like his sticky hands.
Here you go.
Yes. He's another one of those tight ends. He could have 5 catches for 8 yards and 2 touchdowns. Can't wait. Ohio State, they have, which second in the Big Ten, which I thought was interesting to see. Will Howard.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody think Will Howard gets drafted before the 120th pick?
CFL.
No.
It's CFL. Yeah, round 1 pick.
Yeah, USFL maybe.
If you haven't been a C2C league, just enjoy the college points while you have them otherwise.
Yeah. He's a player you take like in the 15th. You know, you're not. I always approach C2Cs by treating the first 7 to 10 rounds as a giant Devy draft. So a player like Will Howard doesn't even see the first 12 to 15 rounds for me, man. Yeah.
Great point. I'm actually in my first C2C draft right now, so I'm just going to be in your DMs because I keep texting Evan every day. Running back,
doing well.
John Judkins and Trevion Henderson. Listen, Henderson would have been the RB1 in the 2024 class. It's a real bummer that he went back to school. They must be paying him an unholy amount of money. Evan, you have Judkins ahead of Henderson for the 2025 class. Do you view them both as like elite prospects that can lead a backfield, or do you view obviously you have Judkins higher, but what's the key difference there?
Yeah, they can both lead a backfield. It just Judkins passes the eye test a little bit more than Henderson. He's stayed healthier than Henderson, which is always a plus out of your running backs. He did it in the Lane Kiffin offense down there. Now he's going to Ohio State, which I honestly appreciate both of them being in the same backfield together because it's going to save the tread on their tires. They're going to both be able to be as efficient as possible by being as rested as possible, which is just all kinds of bad news for every Big Ten team that they play this year. You look at the two of them along with Will Howard. I mean, this could be a team that has 60 rushes, a la Michigan last year against Penn State. So,
got it. It's going to be disgusting. Moving on down, they don't really have a wide. Or sorry, I scrolled down to Penn State. Amika Buka exists. Yeah, they do have a wide receiver. Yeah, there's no wide receivers from Ohio State.
Like 5 of them.
Yeah. We're going to hammer on Amika Buka. In our early 2025 Dynasty rankings, I had him much lower than Evan because I'm worried that Jeremiah Smith is going to come in and eat his lunch. Chris, is Buka a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a third-round pick? Like, what does he need to do to solidify his stance in this class?
You just got to have a solid year like we've seen out of Ohio State wide receivers over the past, 2, 3, 4 years. So for me, he's the wide receiver 1 in Ohio State right now. Jeremiah Smith is poised to be a starter along with Carnell Tate, but all Amika Buka has to do, have a solid year. It's going to be tough with the quarterback that he's got, but just have a good enough year because you have the traits. It's already shown. What you can do is already on tape. Don't suffer a big injury. Show that you're coming out working hard every play. Show that you're blocking on tape. Refine and just get better at your routes. Be a good team guy. And there's going to be no reason why Emeka Egbuka can't garner first round attention, man. To me, he's going to be the guy for Ohio State this year. As good as Jeremiah Smith is, as good as Carnell Tate is, as good as Brandon Inniss is. Even Brandon Inniss is an afterthought at this point in that offense. You're going to invest in Emeka Egbuka. I have a lot of Emeka Egbuka, and I'm going to continue to invest in Emeka.
Chris, do you see him as a legit 1B in an NFL offense, not a 1A? Because I very much do not think that he is a 1A. Very much think that he's a 1B.
Yeah. He's. Okay. I got him as a 1B as well. I can't see him going into a team and being the guy in the NFL, but he can definitely be that Devonta Smith type player beside a player like AJ Brown, right? Go into a team like that and just dominate the other side of the field while you have that 1A playing oppo you.
That makes a ton of sense. Tight end, they have a converted wide receiver, G. Scott Jr., not really turned any heads though. So let's move on to Penn State. Drew Lallar, after all sorts of buzz that he's first round pick. 2023, he showed that he is not a first round pick unless something drastically changes. He plays like Josh Allen if Josh Allen realized he was mortal, which that's a giant red flag because Josh Allen's big thing is that he's Superman. So I love the idea of Drew Lallar. I don't think that he declares after the season unless he absolutely lights it up, and I don't think Penn State's looking to light it up. So, Evan, do you have thoughts? I mean, I know you're a Penn State fan, so do you have more analysis to provide on the Lallar front? We'd love to hear it.
The wide receivers suck for Penn State. They are so bad this year. They're a tight end factory, though. Like we are Penn State. Like that, they are just putting out NFL tight end talent, and they'll continue to do that. They've been putting out NFL running back talent. They don't put out NFL wide receiver talent. And because of that, their quarterbacks have always had to spread the ball around. They've always had to do whatever they can. He can run, he can evade, he can make moves in the pocket. He's really hard to bring down. You know, looking at defenders trying to bring him down, especially free blitzing linebackers, almost reminds me of what you saw with Roethlisberger in the NFL. You can just kind of see him just kind of shrug off linebackers, and you're like, holy crap, like that's a 6'4", 6'5", 240-pound linebacker coming downhill at you. And he didn't take you down. You just said, nope, sorry. He recognizes the blitz relatively well, understands defensive coverages, which I really appreciate. They're supposed to be giving him more control of the offense, which will be really interesting for me to see this season. Is he able to make those right audible calls at the line of scrimmage, be able to develop that portion of his game? And he has a cannon of an arm. He just, for some reason, just doesn't push the ball downfield well. And I think it's because he's had a cannon of his arm, so he relies on it so much that he just gets lazy with his arm, lazy with his shoulders, aligning them, lazy with his leg drive. You know, you just look at all these things that it's just like, oh, you've had this cannon for so long that you just realized you can just beat defenders with it.
Yeah. Luckily, when he gets lazy with his stuff, it doesn't really impact him in the weather because Penn State's always sunny and shiny year round. There's one thing I know about Happy Valley. It never rains. It never snows. It's a perfect place for a quarterback with bad mechanics to go.
Never have a whiteout game in the snow or anything like that.
That would be ridiculous. Why would that happen? Moving to the running backs, we should be excited about both of these guys. So Nick Singleton was everyone's heartthrob in 2022. He had almost 7 yards per carry, over 1,000 yards. And then, Evan, what happened? Did he forget how to football?
Katron Allen, a little bit of a step back. He was dinged up most of the year, which Penn State kept under wraps, which is interesting because they said it was lower body injuries, not just an injury. Yep. There's theory that it was a hip and an ankle, which try running with a hip and an ankle that's hurting. It doesn't go super well. But he's also a kick returner, which is awesome for NFL teams, especially with the new kickoff rules. You're looking for guys that can be able to see holes before they open up and have the speed and athleticism to absolutely just take it to the house, which is what he is. He's a running back that can take it to the house, runs with speed. Kick return's going to keep him on an NFL roster. Yeah, I mean, he should make a freaks list. Again, if he didn't already, I'm thinking about that. I mean, he's going to
Give it a quick Google.
He's going to test well at the combine, which is going to rise him up draft boards. I can already tell you that. People are going to be like, oh, he's a Penn State running back. Oh, he tested well. I mean, they're just going to reminisce back to Saquon, and he is not Saquon. Do not take that in any way, shape, or form. He is not that type of running back.
Evan said Nick Singleton is Saquon.
But he's very good, and we want to see durability this year. Like I said, banged up all of last year. We want to see him healthy and return back to what he was his freshman season.
Yeah. I like the two guys after him, man. Katron Allen and the true freshman, Quentin Martin. Quentin Martin's my RB1 of the class right now for college fantasy, like C2C leagues. So I'm a big Quentin Martin guy. So,
It's funny. Go ahead. I text Mike about that because he was asking me to start naming and he's like 27 Martin. I don't know the rest.
And I took advantage of early drafts because he wasn't in the system yet. So I was getting great value on Quentin Martin early drafting, just putting a placeholder and then dropping that name in there and then seeing the chat explode like, oh my God, I can't believe that we all left him on there. So of the dogs at the top, Nate Frazier, Taylor Tatum, Quentin Martin, I'm taking Quentin Martin 11 out of 10 times.
I love that. So while we talk about Nick Singleton and we thought he could have been a first round pick, maybe a second round pick, then 2023 happened. He was dinged up. And then also Katron Allen stole a lot of touches. So 2022, Singleton's clearly the guy. Katron Allen comes in to spell him. 2023, Allen had more yards per carry. He had more touches. He was, not more touches because Singleton had more targets, but just was more involved in the offense. I think there's going to be a coach that falls in love with Katron Allen just because he does what is assigned. So while Singleton is a home run hitter, he's trying to get it every time. Katron Allen, he's going to get on first base and he's going to wave at his coach. And he's going to do that 10 to 15 times a game. It's not going to be pretty. We're going to hate it for fantasy football, but he's going to be probably a 1B type running back that just steals valuable goal line touches away from somebody. Chris, do you think that there's any way that he could go and be the guy for an NFL offense, or this is just any running back on a 53?
In the right situation, he might be able to be the guy for an NFL offense, but no team's going to draft him to have that role, right? So he's going to need a lot of things to fall into place for him to be the guy. I don't think a team will draft him to be the guy for their team. So to answer your question, I'm going to go maybe.
Soft maybe. But maybe he gets the Tyler Algier treatment where they draft him, give him a million touches, and then
with the running back, it's always going to be an opportunity. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. All right. Moving on to Michigan quarterback. Nobody worth talking about right now. They have Donovan Edwards.
Come on. He was open for you, Mike.
Whoa. Mike, we're just going to skip over Tyler Warren here?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
the best offensive receiver, the best receiver on Penn State.
I heard you say tight end factory, and then I was I'm going to skip it to bother you. All right.
No, Chris.
Talk about Tyler Warren.
I mean, Tyler Warren is exactly what we've been getting out of Penn State these last 3 seasons. Big, athletic, fast, quick for a tight end. He's quick. And working on being a pass blocker, working on being a run blocker. He can do both of those things. And crazy enough, a lot of people think that he can add muscle to his frame already at 250.
Damn.
So people think that he can bulk up on top of 250, which puts him as a 3-down tight end. He has yak ability because he just breaks every DB's arms when they try and tackle him. He pushes their head into the ground. He says, get off me. And he'll take a shot for his quarterback. He'll go and just make a play, expose his ribs, and be able to take the helmet right to the ribs, get back up, and be like, let's do it again.
All right. Sounds lovely. It sounds like he's going to be one of the tight ends that floats around tight end 10 to 20 for 15 years. And we're just do I draft Tyler Conklin this year? All right, well, maybe I'll finally take the plunge on Luke Musgrave. All right. Now it's the time for Robert Tonyan. So can't wait. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the real tight end factory, Michigan. It's not a deciding factor.
Yes,
they just have one.
Marlon
But
Klein, baby.
I'm
They
gonna
got
skip
two,
over. I'm gonna skip over quarterback and wide receiver because if you go to Michigan looking for a wide receiver, you're in danger.
Come on,
let's talk
you're
about Colson
killing me,
Loveland.
dude.
We're doing 2025 prospects, all right? I know they have good ones for later.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. But Colson Loveland, I mean, he's most people's tight end one in the class. I will be honest, I like him. I don't love him. I like him. I think that he's pretty solid. Like he is able to use his role as a 3-down tight end. He's able to manipulate the middle of the field. He's able to sit down in the zone. Like he has a firm understanding of the game, which is awesome to see from a college guy. But I watched Brock Bowers right before him, and it kind of ruined my day. So, Chris, how should we feel about Colson Loveland? Is he somebody that should be on our dynasty radars, like for a first-round dynasty pick or second-round dynasty pick? Like, how high are we talking about Colson?
Yeah, first round dynasty pick, absolutely not. He's not that type of player that we know Brock Bowers was coming into this season, Kyle Pitts before him, and any other real tight end that is a wide receiver on their college football team. Colson Loveland's just not that guy. He can be that Ben Sinnott type of player for you as a dynasty manager. If he gets that day 2 capital, second round, third round in the NFL draft, lands in a decent situation, absolutely you're going to want to invest in a player like Colson Loveland. So I don't hate that the day 2 draft capital that he could get. He's going to be probably the go-to guy for Michigan this year. If he can put together a solid year, put it together at the combine, absolutely, man. Day 2's in it. You should be excited for Colson Loveland.
Love it. Evan, pour a wet blanket on the rest of our evening. Talk to me about Donovan Edwards and your feelings about him.
What do you mean a wet blanket? I mean, he's a former Gatorade Player of the Year in high school, former 4-star recruit. Everybody loves his home.
Give me your feelings. Give me your feelings, not the statistics.
I need a seeing eye dog to get through the hole.
My feelings on him is he's that type of guy in Madden that you run all the way to the right sideline to run all the way back to the left sideline to run all the way back to the right sideline to break it for a touchdown.
Can I say something really bad?
Sure.
Do you want expensive Chase Brown?
Oh,
go get Donovan Edwards.
He's faster than Chase Brown.
Chase Brown's fast. He was like top 10 fastest players in the NFL last year. He's fast. Okay. He also can't see a hole. So the big thing with Donovan Edwards is that
Ray Charles out there.
Yeah, as Chris said, needs a seeing eye dog to get through the hole. Yes, immense amounts of athleticism. Like, cannot teach somebody to be that quick, fast, whatever adjective you would like to use. Unfortunately, he still lacks the feel for the game, and I was kind of hoping running next to Blake Corum, someone that would just like sprinkle off on him after a while. But like Blake Corum's not a supreme athlete, and he was the lead dog in Michigan for so long. If Edwards is that much more athletic than him, why was he stuck? So, bit of a red flag.
Harbaugh wants somebody that's going to pick up 5 yards, 4 yards every carry, keep him ahead of the chains, and Edwards just isn't that type of guy.
Yeah. So, if he gets the draft capital that his combine and his tape and his performance should give him, we're looking at like late 3rd, early 4th. Maybe he slides to the 5th round and we're all shocked. At that point, we're looking at the opportunity for the backfield. If he goes somewhere where he's stuck behind Breece Hall, like, that's tough. He's kind of buried. If he goes somewhere where there's not a supreme starter there, like he goes to Las Vegas next year, now my ears have perked up and we're talking about a 2nd round of dynasty drafts. Do you guys feel differently about Edwards at all, or that's kind of the situation?
Yep, and same situation for me. Yep.
All right, let's talk a little bit about USC. It is still wild to be the Big Ten realignment. I'm reading names and I'm like, that's not right.
Wait a second.
But Miller Moss, he's probably going to come back for the 2026 draft, but with how weak the 2025 class is, if there's a quarterback hungry team, they could go grab him. Chris, tell me about Miller Moss, like what we should be looking for him in 2024.
As an NFL draft prospect, probably not going to be looking at too much. Dynasty managers, he's going to be that quarterback that goes into the back end if not undrafted in your rookie drafts, unless he puts together a Joe Burrow-esque type season when Joe Burrow was at LSU. Miller Moss is just going to be simply an afterthought for me. The offense is great. They're going to put him in opportunities to pass the ball around the field because the defense is so bad. But Miller Moss is just someone that I don't really want to touch for NFL fantasy football dynasty reasons. He's a no-go for me.
He's that fourth round quarterback that you just take a shot on. You're like, he is a leader. Yeah, he's a leader. I mean, he's going to be a high character type of backup quarterback that's going to be in the locker rooms.
Maybe he gets an Aiden O'Connell type season. Can't wait. Let's talk about Lake McCree. I will be completely honest. No idea anything about Lake McCree. Please make me a smarter football fan, Evan.
Oh, I was gonna say Chris can do this. Lake was one of the guys that I do like just watching USC, but I don't have like an actual profile written down for him. Definitely do like watching him on the field. I like the way that he moves. I like the way that he's used in that offense. He's an athletic tight end. He's another one of those athletic tight ends that isn't a super athlete tight end.
Okay. So sounds like I shouldn't care about him anymore. So I will stop caring. Let's move on to the Washington Huskies. Chris, I'm just going to throw this in your court. Tell us one player to keep an eye on, because as we're looking at this, it's probably a bunch of day 3 players because they lost all of their great guys all at once.
If I had to pick one player, there's a few guys for college fantasy maybe that you're going to want to invest in. Denzel Boston, the wide receiver there. Quarterback wise, it's no one really in that quarterback room. Running back wise, no one really in that running back room. And tight end wise, no one really in that tight end room. So wide receiver, I mean, these guys, they're gonna have to come out and just have an record-breaking season to get noticed in the NFL. Denzel Boston this year, maybe. You got Giles Jackson. Another maybe. So it's not looking Hunter. Good. Jeremiah Hunter, the transfer. Yeah, I mean, there's another possibility there. But again, like for NFL dynasty managers, it's really not an offense that I can see a whole lot of first and second round rookie draft capital being invested in going into next year's drafts, man.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Jonah Coleman's one that intrigues me at running back. He just reminds me so much of Dylan Johnson, which we see how that played out this year and this past draft cycle. I mean, this guy's just a bowling ball. Like, that's exactly what he is. He's a bowling ball. He just bounces, falls, like just gets pushed like for another 3 yards because he's just like, I'm so much larger and thicker than everybody else on the field here that I will just bounce off of everybody that I can. Yeah. And he doesn't fumble, which is always a positive.
We'll take a big guy that won't fumble. But that was very depressing. So let's talk about a more uplifting offense, the Iowa offense. I'm going to give the same advice that you could have given people for the last 30 years. Draft the tight end. Don't draft anybody else. Questions, comments, concerns? How do you pronounce Luke's last name? Leachy?
Lachey?
Leachy? I was going to say, I actually haven't watched Iowa in a while because I always just get so depressed every time I watch an Iowa football game. It makes me want to go back to cracking a 6-pack for, just the first half. So
lovely.
First half of the first drive.
Yeah, right.
Offense.
Evan, I got to tell you, this isn't nearly as fun as the SEC one where we were like, day 1 prospect, day 2 prospect, day 1 prospect. And now we're like,
the SEC has a lot of talent.
Iowa, nobody. Wisconsin, nobody.
Well, and that's the thing. The Big Ten is so top heavy with especially 2025 guys. I mean, it's crazy the disparity in the Big Ten. You look at the top 4, top 5, top 6 teams in the Big Ten comparatively to the SEC. I think the SEC has them beat, but not by much. But you look at the back end of the Big Ten versus the back end of the SEC. I mean, there's no question. The SEC absolutely just stomps them hand down.
Well, all right. So we already covered it. Wisconsin, nobody. UCLA. Somebody sell me on TJ Harden. Somebody make the case. Like, you are his agent. You are interviewing with an NFL team. Why should they draft TJ Harden?
They shouldn't. He should just go play in
Not
the
a good agent, man.
USFL. Just go play in the USFL. Just go let them pay for your grad school. Just go to grad school somewhere. You know, let them pay for it. Get some good medical insurance out of it.
Oh,
Keep
man.
playing football. Yeah, no, he's not it.
You are so mean.
Carson
I'm not even
Steele,
gonna,
on the other hand, that man was it last year.
he was the truth. All right, so I went ahead and I pulled up the 2023 Nebraska Cornhusker stats so that I could find somebody for us to talk about.
No, they're absolutely atrocious. The quarterback situation was so bad for Nebraska last year. They brought in Jeff Sims thinking that he could be somewhat decent, and that was a horrible experience. Absolutely horrible. But Cornhusker fans have a lot to look forward to. Dylan Raiola looks like the truth right now. True freshman quarterback that looks like he's going to take the reins from day one, has a chance to be 3 seasons and come out as after his true junior season. Like, he has all of the makings, everything in him to get Cornhusker fans very excited for the future.
I love that.
There's 2 guys. He's got Banks to transfer, and then I'm always going to be a Malachi Coleman fan. I was from his true freshman days. So he's got 2 decent pass targets there, but heading into next year, man, for, again, nobody.
All right. Well, look, this next segment goes out to Mike Zimmerman. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Let's just wax poetic about Kyle, however you say his last name, Monangai. Did I hit that? Did I nail it? All right. CBS, if you need somebody, call me. Listen, internets, we think that he probably comes back for the 2026 draft. With the amount of money he can make the NIL, like he's already hit the transfer portal once. Maybe he hits it again. But Evan, tell me on what some of his best attributes are and like what he can be at the next level.
He's thick. He's going to have a good BMI score, which NFL teams are going to love. He's got very good vision, very good patience. He finds the crease in the line. I mean, all things that you would be really excited for. He's got a very powerful lower body, and he's got very good ball security. All these things are fantastic. You look at him, he's a decent pass pro running back. He's willing to stick his head in there. He's really willing to do what he can. Durability, and can carry a full workload. I mean, we've seen him carry a full workload at Rutgers, which NFL teams love. He's got a high football IQ. Once again, NFL teams love that.
Hell yeah. That's delightful. Man, he had an offer from the Navy midshipman, but he turned it down to go to Rutgers. What a mistake.
Hey, have you looked at the Rutgers schedule this year, though? Like,
is it good or is it terrifying?
Oh, it is a cakewalk. Like, you want to talk about somebody that on the college side,
oh, whoa,
who could just absolutely run through and have multiple 100-yard games this year?
Man, I cannot wait to watch some Rutgers Akron Zips tape next year. I am fired up. 22 breakdown. It's coming. Just wait. Then they go to Virginia Tech and they're going to get blown out because go Hokies. But all right, that's enough. Rutgers. Is there any other prospects we should keep an eye on, Chris, or is it just the running back and everybody else is kind of sad?
For Rutgers, yeah, it's just the running back for me, man. Everyone else, like you said, sad.
All right, cool. So from here on out, what we're going to do, instead of just saying there's nobody there because that's depressing, I'm going to give you the school and somebody give me something to be excited about. Make me excited. Make me want to wake up in the morning. Let's talk about Maryland. Get me fired up, Evan.
I mean, Hemby. Once again, we're sticking with the Big Ten. What does the Big Ten have? The Big Ten has a ton of running backs that have a very high probability of being solid backup running backs in the NFL. They're guys that are going to be on a 53. They're guys that you're going to be looking at to be able to do a lot of things. Hemby, you're looking at somebody with very good acceleration, very good top end speed. He breaks angles on defenders, especially in the open field. He's got good, not great vision and patience, and he's elusive in space. Along with being one of the younger prospects, which is why I think he ends up coming back to school, because I think he's most likely going to get that 6th, 7th round grade. Realistically, you look at that. maybe a third string running back in the NFL, probably a low end second string running back in the NFL. Ball security questions, that's something that he definitely needs to fix. From what I saw, pass pro sucks. Don't ask him to protect your quarterback because he's basically as useful as a piece of paper out there.
So let me get this straight. He can't hold on to the ball and he can't pass protect, and he's projected to be a backup. It sounds like he's not sticking around for a while, brother. Like that sounds like a recipe for a cut candidate.
But he's athletic, Mike. You forget this.
Okay. Chris, let's move on to Northwestern. I got
one from Maryland. Before you go, Mike,
let's do it.
There was a draft pundit that released an article. I will find it. I've just tried to look for it while Evan was going on there about Hemby. I got to find this article. I will send it to you. They had Caden Prather as a top 5 wide receiver in the class. I'm trying to find where this article was. I know it caused a lot of talk on Twitter, but I'll find that and I'll send it your way.
All right. I cannot wait. There is a Meet College Football's 12 under the radar offensive players from CBS Sports, which that's exciting.
Maybe that one.
Oh, 6'4", 211?
He's a big boy. I cannot wait to drop him.
Very fun. All right, let's move on to Northwestern. We literally have nobody in the show notes. So Chris, bail us out here. Give me a Northwestern player that I should care about.
Do you want a football player? Can I give you a player off their volleyball team?
Yeah, give me the women's soccer player that I need to keep an eye on for the women's national team.
I'm sorry. That's all
right.
I would ask volleyball, I would add you. But running back, maybe Cam Porter. He's a shifty guy. He's got some decent speed on him. But NFL draft buzz wise, I mean, your show sheet nailed it, man.
All right. That is very unfortunate. I'm even going through, like, normally Northwestern has an offensive lineman that I'm, like, hot and bothered by. But their best guy is probably a transfer who hasn't been in the program for a while. So maybe Caleb Tiernan turns into something, their left tackle, but there's not a lot to be excited for Northwestern. I'm sorry if you're one of our dozens of listeners and you're a Northwestern fan. Cam Porter still exists. So that's
guy Joseph. He gets it. Cam Porter.
Joseph gets it. Let's move on to Purdue. All right. Hudson Card exists. Devin Mockabee exists. Is there anything at Purdue? Is there like a Rondale Moore hiding in there somewhere that we should just be fired up about?
No.
Dang,
Purdue's going to be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. I think ESPN has that power ranking wrong. I think they're going to be right down there with Indiana.
Their schedule sucks too, man.
Oh, dude.
It sucks. It's so bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about Minnesota then. Holy moly.
Mockabee has hands, though. I will say, as a running back that can be able to catch, especially in CFF leagues. If you're looking for somebody that's just going to get those fourth quarter points because Hudson Card is going to be under duress consistently, just dumping it off, like, Mockabee can be that guy that's just going to get those targets, those receptions right by the line of scrimmage, be able to pick up 8 to 10 yards, get a first down, keep the chains moving. So,
we love a good garbage time king. All right, let's move on to Minnesota. Chris, tell me about Daniel Jackson. Good, bad, indifferent. Like, what are some of his best traits we should be watching in 2024?
I don't have too much of a scouting profile on Jackson going into the NFL year, but I know he's going to be the guy for Minnesota in that offense, at least for the wide receivers. If there's going to be one I want to kind of keep an eye on, it is going to be him heading into rookie season next year. You probably get that day 3 draft capital, so he could be potentially that back end rookie draft wide receiver that you take that you hope falls into a workload on their team. So NFL wise, he's going to have some potential, but again, it's not going to be an elite producer for you for fantasy. So back end wide receiver 3, mid wide receiver 4, maybe is what's in his future for Dan Jackson. All
right. And then Evan, talk to me a little bit about Darius Taylor. Like, does he have the sauce, or is he just a guy?
As long as they don't give him the ball 35 for 35 rush attempts a game, he will have the sauce. Because that's
But can he keep the sauce?
That's basically what they did. Look, every report coming out of Minnesota that I've heard is they're trying to keep him around 25 rushes a game, which is still an insane amount of rushes for somebody that's going to be a sophomore. Like somebody who just absolutely got worn down and eaten up at the beginning half of the season. But yeah, he has the sauce to be able to run in the conference, in the Big Ten. He can run up against the best defenses in the league, best defenses in the conference, with a very mid at best offensive line, and he can just do it. So really love all of that. Really love his game. Really love the fact. But at the same time, we've seen this. Minnesota's offense has historically been very nice to running backs, especially from a production standpoint. They just hand the ball off to one single guy and just feed him until he breaks down. I'm pretty sure that's why they were on their 5th string running back last year at times. So Minnesota Gophers, sorry for your losses last year. You took your lumps, and hopefully Taylor comes back fully healthy and they're able to keep him healthy this year.
For what it's worth on the Minnesota front, they saw 2021 Bucky Irving and they were like, he needs 11 carries a game on top of their already starter getting over 20 a game. That is ridiculous. That should not be real. It's part of the reason that Mo Ibrahim was so many people's like exciting player, because he just was given the rock so many times that it just never panned out, which is unfortunate. All right, Illinois. Moving on. All right. Michigan State.
That's not for some time.
All right. Sell me on Caden. Tell me, what he's going to be, what he's good at.
Yeah, just big body running back that's got the potential to see the workload of workloads in college football this year. They're probably going to hand it to him a million times a game. Just a bowling ball that's going to be able to get down the field north and south. It's going to be hard to take him down. He did deal with some injuries last season, but he's heading into this season healthy. They're excited for him. I'm excited for him. So if there's one player to be excited for out of Illinois, it's Caden Fegan for me, man.
And you know what Illinois does consistently? They try and run the ball, control the clock on offense. They try and stop the run on defense. They're usually pretty good at stopping the run on defense, usually pretty good at running the ball. No passing attack, nothing in the air, unless
I mean, you're describing 90% of the Big Ten. That's the whole conference.
And that's why we love the Big Ten, baby.
We love the Big Ten. Always bet Iowa unders. Michigan State. Let's talk a little bit about Nate Carter. So you put in here that you think he goes back for the 2026 draft, Evan. Is that just because you don't think he gets a good enough declaration, or you just think he needs a little more time in the crock pot?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get enough national exposure. I think the grade that comes back when it comes draft season is going to be a little bit lower than he's going to want. I think Michigan State knows how valuable he is to the offense. So if they are going to spend any kind of NIL money on anybody, it should be Carter. He's the very clear best player on this offense right now. Aiden Childs definitely has that ability to become the best player in this offense, but he is incredibly raw. There are going to be a lot of growing pains. And what helps a quarterback to be able to develop and be able to ease him into it better than a running back that you can depend on? And that's Carter for this offense. Yeah. Downhill style runner, going to keep you in front of the chains. He's not going to go backwards. Good in pass protection to be able to keep Childs upright. So that's going to be huge because their offensive line, I'm pretty sure, has a ton of transfers on it. I'm pretty sure they lost a bunch of guys that haven't started many games together. So they're going to have some time that needs to be able to gel together. Yeah. Three down back. He can catch. He just hasn't been asked to do that too much.
Yeah, my only worry for Nate Carter is the guy behind him in Lynch Adams, the UMass transfer. Saw 235 attempts last year, over 1,000 yards. Only had the 24 targets, 20 receptions. But if he can get involved in that running game for Michigan State, there could be a situation where they just cycle the two of them, and then it just sinks his value. I'm excited for Nate Carter too, but K'Ron Lynch Adams is might maybe that is a problem, but might be a problem for Nate's Carter production.
All right. It's good to know. Real quick, we're going to just chat about the tight end there. So Jack Veling, he's on the watch list for the Mackey Award, which is super cool. If every tight end from the Big Ten wasn't already on the watch list as well. Transfer from Oregon State. Hasn't really like broke out production wise, but somebody tell me, does he have the sauce, or is he just somebody that maybe he makes a splash at some point?
Wait, he comes over with the same scheme with a quarterback that he was able to get some practice reps with. So he's going to have that rapport, which I think is going to bode really well for early season production for him. So I think that's really good. You look at him, he finds slots in the zone relatively well. So definitely appreciate that. Strong hands, good work ethic, toughness to go across the middle of the field, staring down the barrel of getting absolutely smacked. And he has a vertical threat. He has more speed than most of the tight ends in the Big Ten, in my assessment. Chris, do you agree?
Okay.
Agreed.
All right. Last and least, we have the Indiana Hoosiers. Is there anybody with a pulse for Dynasty?
I'm just gonna Hoosier over here. Just okay, all right.
Well, let's take this last little bit. Open it up to the whole Big Ten, and just each of you take a prospect that you are excited about that people don't already know about. So don't talk about Jeremiah Smith. Don't talk about Nick Singleton. Don't talk about Zachariah Branch. Tell me about somebody that people should know, but they don't know him yet. Evan, I know I'm throwing this to you quick.
Dante Moore.
Okay.
I absolutely love Dante Moore. You know, I loved his high school profile. You look at a guy that was a multiple year starter in high school with heavy production. He is what every coach raves about as a high school kid coming out, went to UCLA, had multiple starts at UCLA, didn't look bad at UCLA as a true freshman. You think about some of the games that he was playing in as a true freshman. You think about the learning curve going from high school to college. It's a giant learning curve. Regardless of what anybody tells you, it is a giant learning curve. And he took it with poise. He took his lumps and he moved on from that program and went to Oregon. And I think it really says something of his maturity to be able to say, okay, I want to go to Oregon. He originally committed to Oregon before going to UCLA. So I think that's huge on top of it as well. And he knows that Oregon is going to be a scheme that very much fits what he wants to do, how he utilizes his game. So I absolutely love Dante Moore. He's a guy you're probably not going to see much of this year unless you get some Oregon blowouts and they end up putting him in the game in the fourth quarter. But that's a guy for next season that I am really looking forward to.
Sweet. Love it, brother. Chris, give me a name that you're fired up about that people need to be more excited for. Share the joy with the people that know.
I mean, we talked about him a little bit with Penn State there, considering the two guys that are in front of him. Quentin Martin, for me, man, is going to be a guy that's going to make it a stamp, especially if Nick Singleton and Katrin Allen both go to the NFL next year. Even if only one of them end up leaving to go to the show, Quentin Martin is going to be an early draft target for any kind of C2C startup, CFF draft. Startups, redrafts, anything like that. Quentin Martin's going to be a guy. And then FCS transfer from Northwest Missouri, running back with Oregon now, Jay Harris, 3-star guy. He's like 5'9", 215. I like what I saw on tape. The FCS to FBS running backs don't always pan out, but I like throwing my darts with these guys. You got Sam Franklin at Oklahoma, who put up a big year last year, who he transferred to Oklahoma this year, and then Jay Harris. So for me, those are two running backs that I think, if all goes well, they got some dogs in front of them. We know that Gavin Sawchuk at Oklahoma is going to have a terrific year. And then we talked about Jordan James a little bit there at the top. And then they got Whittington as well at Oregon. So it's going to be tough for Jay Harris to find some playing time. But if he does, I think he can make some noise, man.
And I'm going to say it right now. This time next year, we will be saying that USC has the best wide receiver crew in the Big Ten.
In the whole Big Ten?
In the whole Big Ten.
I don't know. Ohio State might have something to say about that because they can just continue to find these dudes built in a lab. and then start up his freshman. So if there is a super soldier running around in high school algebra 2, they're going to find him. But
What
Chris,
does USC have? Sorry, Deuce Robinson, Zachariah Branch, Mekhi Lemon right now, right?
Lemon, yeah.
I didn't get the next year.
Zachariah Branch and Jacoby Lane.
Jacoby Lane, yeah.
Yeah,
Deuce
let's
Robinson,
not forget.
tight
Yeah,
end.
let's not forget
Yeah.
Lane.
I like that.
So
I like that.
sweet. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had a good time. Before we close out, tell the people one more time where they can find you, what you're working on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Evan and Mike, man. Appreciate the invite coming to talk college football. Anytime you guys want me to come do that, I'm down. You can find me at FFChrisB on Twitter every Monday night, 9 p.m., 1 foot down on the Fantasy and Frames YouTube channel. You can also, we do that at podcast form as well. So Spotify and Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. And then we have our last Mocking with the Stars this Monday night, 10 p.m. next Monday night, 10 p.m. with Lindellians. It is not a kicker-only draft, so don't get too excited about that one.
It's what we needed her for. And before we close out, I'm going to talk about the only Conference USA prospect you need to know, Rowdy Beers, all-name team. Draft him in 2025 just for the vibes. Thank you. Have a good night.